listening to the Mark Bradford Alchemy for Life podcast.
Who doesn't like precious metals? Am I right? Hey there. Let's talk about the golden rule. Well, let's talk about 4 different rules, one of them being the golden rule. But first we'll focus on the golden rule. We all know what that is, right? Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. What do you think about that rule? If someone says, I live by the golden rule, what do you think of them? Kind of gives you the impression that they're a good person, that, being good is what they put first? What if I said I think that's a selfish rule? Yes, the gasping again. Seriously, I think the golden rule is kind of narrow-minded and selfish. Only if you expand onto other conceptual rules that are named after other kinds of metals. So let's go back again. The golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, I think by now you've learned that not everyone has the same concept of how they want to be treated. If you've read the 5 love languages that I mention all the time, quality time feels a lot different than gifts. If quality time is your thing, that means you want someone to spend time with you. If someone's love language is gifts, then it means they want you to give them some gifts and make them feel special. So if you go and try to spend quality time with someone because that's your thing and how you want to be treated, kind of being narrow-minded, not really considering the person's feelings. And no, look, I'm not saying that if you live by the golden rule, you're, that's bad or anything like that. This is not one of those kind of things one of those kind of articles you read all the time, where you're like, oh my God, I'm just incensed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, let's examine that. And what I'm saying is not all that important unless I introduce other rules to you, right? So let's back up all the way back to the iron rule. So the iron rule states basically that the person with the power or thing with the power is the thing that is able to enforce the rules. It's kind of also known as the law of the jungle. The strongest survives. Darwin kind of touched on that as well. That seems pretty non-cerebral, right? It's pretty much kind of animalistic. And that kind of kicks in our brain once in a while, right? The iron rule kicks in like, dude, back off. Okay? I'm sitting here, right? And then we jump to the golden rule, which is do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. So again, treat them the way that you think you want to be treated, which obviously on the Venn diagram of being treated, there's quite a bit of overlap, so I think you're pretty safe. But again, it's a little narrow-minded. There are things that I like, things that I appreciate, that other people don't. I would much rather someone was honest and a bit blunt with me than trying to protect my feelings, because in the way that my brain works, it's almost insulting. And there are people that feel the same way. I don't want people to live by the iron rule, but we all kind of kick that one in once in a while. What other rules are there? Well, there is a rule past the golden rule. Some people call it the platinum rule, the diamond rule, the titanium rule. Those are names for the same rule that's one above the golden rule. And that is, do unto others the way they want you to do unto them, or treat others the way they want to be treated. Obviously, you are not all knowing, so you don't know sometimes the way someone wants to be treated, so you kind of lead with the golden rule, right? But if you know that somebody likes a certain thing, especially in a relationship, then you kind of treat them that way. And it goes back to learning someone's love language in a relationship and saying, well, I'm not all about acts of service, but I know she really likes that, so I do that sort of stuff all the time because that's how she wants to be treated. Or she would much rather I cancel than kill myself to make it work. That's using that platinum, diamond, titanium rule. Let's call it the platinum rule because that's a precious metal. Okay? There are 2 other rules. If you're keeping track, I may have misspoken. There are 2 other rules. There's the silver rule, which is a bit like the golden rule, but it takes a step back. And you may consider it to be a rule that actually requires a lot less effort. But the silver rule is don't treat someone the way that you wouldn't want to be treated. Interesting, huh? Instead of going out and running into people's faces and go, here, I got your coffee for you. Here, I moved the chair for you because, I knew you'd like that. Or that's what I would want. I would want someone going and get my coffee for me over there. And I would want this. And people are like, creepy, leave me alone. If you live by the silver rule, or if you kick in the silver rule, it's, I wouldn't want someone to splash water all over the sink here so that when I go use the bathroom, there's water all over it. I wouldn't want someone to leave the towel. I wouldn't want somebody to, talk really loudly in the movie. I wouldn't like that, so I'm not going to do that. Sometimes that's wasted effort because there are people who are just like, I never know. I didn't notice, but I like the silver rule because in some cases it's more important to limit negative behavior than to keep kicking yourself to be so damn positive. How about just stop being so negative? And I've said this before in other podcasts. The last rule, in no particular order, is the bronze rule. The bronze rule is very interesting because the bronze rule, talk about lack of effort, is simply just leave people alone. Let them do their thing, Just leave people be. So instead of standing up and going, sir, that annoyed me. I don't think I liked that. Just leave alone. And in some cases, obviously, it's really hard to leave someone alone when you are trying to be righteous and you're trying to protect other people and so forth. So obviously it has its place. But it's an interesting rule for getting through your day, right? There are times in which the bronze rule can make your life a lot easier. There are times when having the bronze rule enacted can make you a pretty bad parent. There are times when the golden rule is going to get you in trouble. And there are times when, the silver rule might be just what you need. And there are times when the platinum rule is just simply impossible because you're not a mind reader. I bring up all these things because they're very interesting ways to categorize behavior. They're interesting ways to approach a way of being or an outlook, right? So, there's lots of ways to describe outlooks. They fit into all sorts of vessels. There's religions and there's belief systems and there's this and that and the other thing. I'm just talking about these 4 or 5 rules and their place in life. And if you haven't noticed by now, clearly all of the rules apply in some way, shape, or form, right? And it's just our choice as a sentient being to say, I think I need to kick in the golden rule right now. And with many things, like I say in my Order and Chaos podcast and also chapter, thank you, I talk about how when we put all our eggs in one of those baskets, that's when the trouble happens. Everyone has order and chaos. Everyone uses these rules in one way or another. It's when you're too fanatically committed to order or chaos, or too fanatically committed to just one of these rules, is when you get, when you get in trouble. Either you get in trouble or you get seriously taken advantage of. So this is kind of just some awareness, because a lot of people aren't familiar with much past the golden rule, and I thought these other rules were actually very interesting. Let me know which rule you like to live by, and enjoy. Hey there, thanks for listening. I always appreciate your feedback, right? Well, here's your chance. You can connect with me on Instagram, via the Alchemy for Life site, or most other social media. If you like this podcast, you may love my new book, Alchemy for Life: Formulas for Success. The 239-page paperback is available on Amazon and everywhere else you get your books. All this info is available at Alchemy for Life. Thank you. See you next week.